Okay, so we're back over here in free will, and he's really going to explain today that there's a lot of limitations in where our free will is going to express itself in our lives. And he says like this, in other areas of a person's life, we don't really have true free will. For example, he says, does a person have real control over their health? Does a person have real control over their health? L'dugma, for example, mugbelas b'yoser, meaning how much of a control am I going to have over my physical health? As he says, Adam yochel lahakpid al orech chaim bari. A person can be very particular about their health. They get the right amount of sleep every day. They get the right amount of exercise. They eat the right foods. They take the right vitamins. They do everything. Everything that it says in the health books they're supposed to do. And nevertheless, they could still end up getting horrible diseases, God forbid, at some point in their life. I remember there was many years ago, I was into juicing. Yeah, you get this juicer, takes about 10 pounds of carrots to get one glass of juice. Takes a long time to make a glass of juice. I think that's why I gave it up. But I was very much into juicing, and it had a book that was written by like the premier juicer, I forget what his name was, who designed the whole juicing system and which vegetables go together and fruits and everything. And this man was like a rail, and his face was effervescent, and it shined from all the vitamins and the minerals that was in him, and he was the healthiest guy in the entire world. And one day he killed over a heart attack, like that. The healthiest man in the world, who wrote the book about juicing, that everything flowed through his kidneys, no problem. One day he's walking down the street, he has a heart attack and he dies. So says Rabbi Tatz, he says, do you really have control over your health? Now, of course, as he's going to explain over here, there are many things that we can do. And he says, Yeshnam anoshim im netir l'chayli hamuvanis, באוטונומי ובפיזיולוגי שלהם שהיא מהווה יכולת שלהם למנוע או לשנות. And then he says there's other people that you can try to be as healthy as you want, but there's certain things, there are predispositions that people have within their physicality and their physiologically and their anatomy. Maybe it's in their genes, it's in their DNA, that people are predispositioned to certain diseases that it's impossible to escape that. No matter how hard the person will try, no matter, they'll always be in guard and they'll watch and they'll go for the checkups and everything, but it's there. So what kind of control do we have? It's clear that if a person wants to, they could do a lot of harm to themselves that will increase their chances of getting sick and getting illness. A person smokes 2 packs of Marlboro Reds every day of his life, and he drinks a bottle of gin or scotch or whiskey every day of his life, chances are he's not going to be in very good shape at some point in his life. His body's going to be ripped to shreds. Now, a person chooses to do that. That much bechira, that much free will, a person could do. Now, he says, this is a very moral thing for a person to do. To actively hurt yourself with the way in which you decide to lead your life and the foods and the intake and the drugs and the alcohol and the nicotine and all these things, a person does that. It's not a very sound-minded thing to do. Pi'ilos mezika kizu hi oven b'diuk mishum, such actions that a person does that actually hurt them and harm themselves is, as he writes, oven b'diuk. It's really like a grave sin that the person is doing. Mishum shi nimses b'shetach b'chet o relatively, so he writes over here that when a person does these kind of things, so he put himself into the zone of free will by choosing to do what is wrong. No one's telling you to smoke 2 packs of cigarettes a day. Now, you might get addicted at a certain point, you can't stop yourself anymore. But you used your free will to get to the addiction. You might be a miserable wretch, so drinking a bottle of schnapps every night before you go to bed is the way that you cope with life. But that's your choice. There's many other ways for a person to cope with life, not drinking a bottle of whiskey before they go to sleep at night. So a person could use there are things that are preordained, predispositioned in a person's life. You don't have control over that. So our health, there's so much control that we do have. Now, of course, we try to have good habits. We try to do good things. We try to make sure that we are in what we could do, try to be as healthy as we possibly can. At the end of the day, it's not in your hands. We do our efforts, we make our efforts, but it's not in our hands. But hurting ourselves, that's certainly something that he writes is fully within our hands to end up damaging the bodies that Hashem has given us. And that, he says, that's a grave error that a person makes. I remember that, I'm sure I told over this story about my Rosh Hashiva in Baltimore of Aaron Feldman. Of course, in his generation, he's in his 90s, Blian should live and be well. When he was a much younger man, in the 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s, everybody smoked. It was common. Everybody smoked. In the olden days in yeshivas, they would smoke inside the Beis Midrash when they were learning. That was also very common. It was all normal. And they thought it was very good for your health. It helped the digestive tract. It made your mind more lucid. You were able to think better. So in 1960-something, the Surgeon General issued his first warning that smoking is actually hazardous for your health and could cause cancer. So Rabbi Feldman tells the story that he came home from yeshiva that day. He was a rather young man. And his wife says to him, Aaron, you heard the Surgeon General warning? He said, no, what did he say? She said that smoking could be dangerous to your health and cause cancer. He said, okay. So she said, so you're not going to be smoking anymore. He said, oh, okay, fine, whatever. I won't smoke anymore. She said, so give me your cigarettes. He said, look, I have a few packs left over here. The Surgeon General just issued the warning. We'll look into it a little while. She said, no. You don't understand. You are not smoking anymore. And he said, I was a good husband. I handed over my packs of cigarettes, and I never smoked another cigarette. So that much control we have. We can control our urges, we can control our desires, we can control our addictions. That we can control. But the ultimate picture of our health and what's going to happen at the end of the day, that's something that is going to be up to Hashem. But this, that we have an obligation to guard our health and to withhold damage to our health. So in the world of free will, yes, I can take upon myself a healthy lifestyle. That's called free will. And yes, I could be foolish and I could damage my health by the carelessness in which I run my life, in my physicality. But the ultimate world of what my health is going to look like, how the reports are going to come back from the doctor, ultimately there are limitations on what I'm able to do. What about how long is a person going to live? How long is a person going to live? Is that up to you? Is it up to a person? We hear stories every day of the young man who perished, or the young woman who perished. She was 21 years old. He was 18 years old. Then you hear about the person who's 90, 95, 100, 105 years old, just keeps going on, miraculously. So does a person dictate how long they're going to live? No, a person doesn't. Every day of life, and certainly if a person has a longer life, every day, every year is a matan, it's a gift that Hashem is sending us. Yesh gvul leketzeves chayiv shel ha'adam b'shetach zeh eino pasuch lebechira chofshis. How long you're going to live is not something that is really opened up to the world of bechira, of free will. V'shu, furthermore, kimat ein gvul le'efsharis shel ha'adam lekatzes chayiv. At the same time, there's also no limits for the possibilities that a person has to do to shorten their span of life. A person is a reckless, crazy person, and they're driving at 100 miles per hour on icy roads in a rainstorm. That person is asking for an accident waiting to happen. A person is, like we said, not taking care of themselves, eating all the wrong foods, not following doctor's orders, not doing this, not doing that. They're asking for a shortened life. That's also bechira, that's free will. Maisim ke'eleim chatoim kevedim. These are very heavy sins. He writes, Umishikach heim bevade b'techuma bechira. And that's certainly within the realm of your free will. If you want to shorten your life, that's within your free will. A person wants to try to extend their life just by being more careful and the like, that's also within your free will. Ultimately, the age of the person will be determined above. Oisher, what about your riches? Even that's not really within your free will. Our sages tell us that every year on Rosh Hashanah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu decides how much money you're going to make this year. Whether you work 20 hours a day or you work 2 hours a day, you're going to make the same amount of money. Whether you corner the market or you don't corner the market, Hashem decreed how much money you're going to make this year. So is it really within your free will to become a rich man or not? Not within your free will. Of course, there's no shortage of ways that a person could end up damaging their riches. And you're responsible for destroying your money. If a person is careless with their money and they keep making one bad decision after another, or they spend it in ways that is just irresponsible, and you look at the end of the month and you look in the account and there's not much left, so who did that? A person did that to themselves. So that's also within the realm of your Bechira. But again, at the end of the day, says Rav Tatz, we see that in all these areas of our life, the amount of free will that we have is in small, very limited areas. And he concludes like this. We are mugbal, we are limited in many aspects of our life. Lemifgashim b'nei azug, potentially to meet our proper, the right spouse, or of shayos kidam mixos, or to get into the right business opportunity. The Dumuk, for example, yesh betivam gevulos, there are inherent limitations in all of these areas of one's life. Mashaloi nigzim merosh. However, this that was not decreed from the beginning, his hatiguva haprati shel adam la'oisen as izdamnus. The way in which you are going to deal with these opportunities that arise in your life, his nalus chiyuvis l'toiva, whether you will deal with them in a good way, or shlilos l'ra, or you will deal with them in a negative type of a way over here, you'll handle them improperly. Shtei and pesuchos, the fun of, that's all in front of you. Meaning, how you're going to deal with the business, you're not a master to know exactly how it's going to work out. How you're going to deal with the success and the failure, that's going to be up to you. How you're going to deal with what the doctor says, that's going to be up to you. How you'll deal with your regimen or your not regimen or the wife or not, all of that, he says, that's up to you. You can't control, but you have free will to decide how you're going to respond to the situation in front of us. Okay, to be continued.